Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Everyday Heroes podcast. Today, we have a very special guest, and not a typical guest that you would imagine to come on to an autism podcast. Sesh Iyer is the founder of Riga Business Coaching, and essentially, he helps businesses grow to seven figures. And it's pretty cool what he can do because essentially we're blowing it out of the system. We're blowing it out of the water. But what people don't understand is growing a business is very, very similar to dealing and raising parents of who are raising autistic children, right? There's a lot of mindset work that goes into it. There's a lot of stuff that comes up that you think, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I'm the right person for this. Is there imposter syndrome? Is there all these things that come up when you're faced with huge challenges? Now, it's no small feat to get to seven figures, I can tell you that right now. But Sesh is the person that will take you there. And so I really wanted to bring Sesh on today to share those mindsets, to share what happens when you get overwhelmed. Whether you're in business or whether you are raising an autistic child, they are so very, very similar. So, Sesh, welcome to the podcast. How are you?
Thanks, Natalie, and good morning, everyone. Thank you. Thanks for this opportunity. It's great and fun to be here and
Awesome.
share all the details with you all.
Absolutely. So as we were mentioning before, we were talking about like how businesses can become very overwhelmed. Business owners can become really overwhelmed. They're not coping. They're desperate to try and get to the end goal, which is the seven figures, right? It's to get the money flowing in. How do you help them regain control?
Thanks for this great question. So, seven figures is where our start point would be. Is we want to reach seven figures and then aim for 8 and 9 figures. That would be our goal. But reaching seven figures is one of the hardest journey what a business owner goes through, because before seven figures you don't have many people. Like if a person, a business owner at 100K or below seven figures, he hardly has a team most of the time. And or even if he has a team, it'll be 2 or 3 people, and it'll be him working, him or she, they are working a lot to get to the next step. So they work almost like 10 hours, 12 hours, 14 hours a day, and burn themselves to reach the next goal. Now, that is extremely overwhelming because you have not many people to depend on, to lean on. So that's the overwhelming step for most business owners who are reaching to seven figures. It's always told that your first million is the hardest million you make, and the second million becomes easy. And then a great entrepreneur or a inspirational person said, then why don't you start with second million as a mindset? So
So
if you
true.
think that you have 2 millions in your bank account today, then how would you behave? So if we have $2 million in the bank account today, the mindset shift is then I would hire people. I would delegate, and I would make sure that the people whom I've hired are doing the right job. And that's how we move to next step. So for us, when we are at 100K to seven figures or $1 million business, when we are at that range, it's very important to understand that this is a journey what we are going through, and this journey is very essential so that we learn all the things now so that we can take our business from 7 to 8 figures, and that's where we will make a change. So it is that acceptance and belief that we are going through this journey is very important for every single business owner, and that's where everything starts.
So when you talk about delegation, if we go back to families raising autistic children, would you say that delegating a lot of things off a parent's plate, as in particular a mum's plate, to sort of ease up that worry and that stress? Do you think that would apply the same way?
Yes. So the easiest way to do the delegation is using 80/20 rule or 464 rule, which I'm very passionate about. So let me explain if that helps. So 80/20 rule or a Pareto principle, which is very popularly known, is 80% of the results what you get in your life or in business. It doesn't matter. It's a global rule. If you just look down on the jobs what you do, 20% of the job what you do, like your actions what you take, 20% of the actions bring 80% of the results in your life. So it is only this 20% brings 80% of the results. That's Pareto principle. Now if you apply this to itself, then you get 464 rule. What it says is 4% of the job what you do brings 64% of your movement in your bottom line. In if it is in life, if happiness is your KPI or a bottom line, then you would find that the 4% of the work what you do brings 64% of the result. Now, having this awareness, the best way to delegate is take a sheet of paper. It can be life and business. Take two sheets of paper, write all the work what you do in one column, and in second column the percentage of result what that work is bringing to your table. Then you prioritize that based on the results, which is the first 64%, first 4%, then the remaining 16% becomes your 20%. Now when you have 4 and 16%, which is the first 20%, you will see that the 80% of the results in your life is bringing from these tasks. So now you will actually prioritize these tasks and you will do that work. Like marketing and sales are the things which actually bring to your bottom line ASAP. So marketing and sales should never be delegated. At least they are the last to be delegated. So marketing and sales in business will be the top. And in household, you will have some parameters similarly, which will bring the most of the bottom line. Rest of the tasks should be outsourced or delegated. For example, in the house, cleaning. For fortnightly, around $100 to $150 worth of fortnightly cleaning, you can get your house cleaned. So you might invest $300 a month for cleaning the house. But then that's an investment. But that will give you time freedom of, say, 10 to 20 hours in a month. Now, what will you do with that 10 to 20 hours? That's now very important. If you can put that in a better way, then you make more money. And in fact, you will relax to instead of doing those chores in the house. So it's very important to delegate, because once you delegate, you reduce work, and then you will have a better lifestyle because now you prioritize.
Yeah, I see it so often with clients, with friends, that they're just so overwhelmed because there's just the sheer amount of things that need to be done, right? The sheer amount of activities that, going to the therapy appointments, getting the social stories done, doing whatever it needs to be in order to support your child at whatever age, whether they're younger and they're going to kinder or whether they're older and going to primary school. There seems to be such a heavy load. But I love that you've broken it down and given them a really cool strategy to do in terms of writing them down and then obviously prioritizing, because I think that we do so much. But like you were saying with the 80-20 rule, maybe that top 20% is actually where we're getting most of our traction, but we're so busy in the busyness of things. So I really love that. Can you share with our listeners, in terms of NLP, first of all, what is NLP?
Yeah. I'm, I'm sorry. Give me a sec.
You're fine. You're
Yeah,
fine.
all good. So NLP. So let me explain NLP and hypnotherapy together, and maybe even timeline therapy in between in a very easy way. NLP, it stands for neuro linguistic programming, or it is programming your mind using linguistic pattern or language. That is NLP. So, easiest way to explain why we are so passionate about NLP and timeline therapy and hypnotherapy is, if you remember any event in your life, if you just remember any happy event in your life, you would remember a video or an audio or an images, a smell, some sort of feelings associated to that event. So if I ask you to close your eyes and imagine an event in the past where you were totally happy, then you would imagine that event. But what exactly you're imagining is these parameters, which is videos, audio, smell, events, and all other things. Now, that is what you are imagining as if it's happening right now. Now, the second part is our brain cannot distinguish the difference between the reality and imagination. Deepak Chopra, it's on YouTube a long time ago with an Oprah's interview on television, he actually demonstrated it. So our brain cannot distinguish the difference between reality and the imagination. That's the reason anytime we remember a trauma, we feel that as if it's happening right now. So every single thing what we have, if I combine these two words, so the first was everything is videos, images, audios, and the parameters. The second is our brain cannot distinguish between the imagination and the reality. Now, if it is so simple, now we can trick the brain. Because brain can't differentiate between imagination and reality, and it is these parameters, we can go back to the past. That is using timeline therapy and hypnotherapy, we can go back to the past, and also NLP's Bob modality shifts. So you can go back to the past, the event where that trauma or a bad thing has happened in our life. So that is now holding us like a cycle or a bicycle chain holding to that particular event. And we are living that event every single day unknowingly. So go back to the past. And in a very simplistic term, what we do is we change those parameters. We change the way you feel. We change the event, what you see on that event. We change the parameters of images, the people around in that event. And if you do all that in that event, and after that work, and if you come back and if you see you don't feel that same emotion anytime you think of that event, because that event has been changed.
Yeah,
So,
definitely.
and that's because now we change that event and the feeling associated with that event, you are now decoupled to any of those emotions which were associated with that event. So now you can see the picture as a new picture in front of you and deal with it in a better way. So we do this using language patterns in NLP, and also there are internally we have Bob modality shifts, we have parts integration, we have uh, timeline therapy. Timeline therapy is Tad James' invention slash discovery in 1980s. So we and then using hypnotherapy of Milton language and Milton patterns. So all what we do in this world is to make sure that we change those parameters and trick the brain that nothing has happened, so that we decouple that. So once you decouple, you can live freely.
Yeah, I want to share with something. I was coached through with NLP because every time I would think of my son's diagnosis, I literally would be transported to the very chair that I was sitting in when the pediatrician told me that he was autistic. Now, that brought on a whole bunch of emotions and a whole bunch of grief and sadness and overwhelm and confusion and feeling lost and not sure which direction to go in. And so I was able to use that NLP in order to change how I looked at that particular event. And it's funny, now I can look back at that event with zero emotion, right? I look at it for what it was, right? That it was information for me. It was literally data that I needed to take in order to move forward with what I need to do to support my son. And so, but because we're emotional creatures, because we want to add stories to what happens to us, we create this story around us, and then that impacts and actually takes on a life of its own when we go into the future, right? And so that story then continues and stays with us. So I love NLP for that reason, to be able to change what happens, and really change how you feel and your feelings associated with that particular event. So I think that is so important. Did you want to add anything else to that part in terms of all of the modalities that you go through?
Yeah. Firstly, thanks for sharing, and I really hear you. And we all have gone through the journey, and it's every time we think about it, we feel it. And firstly, thanks for sharing that.
So welcome.
One thing which I want to add more than a modality is when we are going through the journey, right? So we feel it's very hard, and it is very hard. So the day when in 2013, when 2012 December, I still remember when we were told that I can't be a parent. So we will never be a parents. So I, even after having all the money spent and everything in the cycle, 2012 we were told we can't be parents. So accept it. But then now if I tell that I have two daughters, twins of 10-year-old, now they'll be turning 11 this year. So it's a miracle. But then the journey what we went in 2012 was a very tough journey. But at the end, when we came out of the tunnel and when we saw the light, and if we look back into that journey now, we feel the journey was short. Yes, it was painful, but it was short. But that journey was necessary for us to go through to have two kids. Hadn't we gone through that journey, we wouldn't have had two kids today.
100%.
So the journey what we all go through, I know it is hard, I know it is painful, I know it is very suffocating for most of us. It is not easy when the pain is lingering on us. However, that journey is necessary for us to become the person who we will become after that journey. So the journey is our bus which takes us to the destination. But that ride is very hard.
I love that so much because I know so many parents are listening to this right now and thinking to themselves, like, I am in the hard and I don't know which way to go. I don't have the direction. I don't have the compass. I don't know which bus to take or which taxi to go in. And it just feels very, very overwhelming. And especially when nothing changes, right? When you wake up day after day after day and you're looking at your beautiful autistic child and wanting more than anything to give them the supports that they need, but not knowing how to do that. How do we find the right supports? What does that look like? And I would say to people right now who are listening, put your oxygen mask on, because I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt that if I'm in a state of overwhelm, there is no way that I can kick into my intuition. There's just no way. And I would think that that would be the same for business owners. When you are feeling overwhelmed, you cannot find the path forward because it clouds our judgment. It clouds our ability to make the next right decision. And how often have you seen, Sesh, which I reckon you probably would have seen it more often than not, business owners making wrong decisions that are clear as day to maybe to you because you're not in that overwhelm, but because they are in that overwhelm, that they don't know which way to go. And it's so similar to the parents. I see it over and over again. We know, as parents, we know our children better than anybody else. We know them better than GPs and specialists and speechies and OTs and anyone else that you want to put out there. And so I think it's so important that we have this information so that we can click that intuition back on and really choose which way to go forward. Would you agree?
Yes, I totally resonate with what you told. Business and parenting is a bit similar. So when we start a business, I would say that business is your baby. So it goes through the journey of being a baby to a toddler to a small kid, and then it becomes tween and creates trauma and and all the tantrums. Then it becomes tween, and then it becomes an adult. So it goes through the similar journey, the business and the parenting. So I would like to share something which is personal here.
Please.
There was a time in the past where a teacher of came to us in some school, and they told that, your kid needs some blah 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 help and all of the thing. I had two choices to make. I means me and my wife, we had two choices to make: either to go with what they are suggesting, or to take a deep breath with tears because they were speaking which we didn't like to hear. Take deep breaths with a heavy heart, and then do the right thing. And we took a call which was drastically opposite to what we were suggested. And we said, we believe in ourselves, and we have seen our family members, who were taking time, but they will get there. And we don't want to go in your path what you are suggesting. And we were very certain about our decision. And the main thing is we believed in ourselves, and we told something that, all whatever is happening to us is happening for good. Whatever will happen, it will also be for good. And whatever we are doing today is also for good, and what we'll do tomorrow is also for good. So, and then trusting that process with those for goodness with us is what, took us to next step. Today, if I see my daughters, playing very confidently, the other day speaking in front of thousands of students uh, in their school, it makes me believe that yes, had we accepted the words of someone else, had we allowed the opinions of others as our reality, I'll repeat, had we allowed the opinion of others as our reality, we would have become their reality, not our reality. So, if because we said no to their opinion, we believed in our opinion with a scientific judgment, what we took, that means we created a different reality for our daughters, which is way different to what the majority of society would accept. But we are happy to be different because we created a better result than what they would have accepted. This is the same thing which happens in business. When you start a business, you will have thousands of people, and it'll be from the close circle saying that you are not good enough, stop this crap. You can't do this, stop this crap. But they are the people who will never come and feed you. So you need to say that others' opinion doesn't matter, and I would not accept it. I would believe in self, go for the result so that you would get a better outcome.
I just want to firstly say, huge mic drop right there. How many times as parents have we heard essentially someone's opinion about our children, and then we grieve that because we believe that that is the only truth? I don't buy into it. I just think it's crap. I think it's not a reality. I've heard people say to me that your child, and I've heard other people say the same thing, your child will never tell. Your child will never walk. Your child will never do this. Your child will never do that. That, I'm sorry, but reality is you're not God, first of all, and I'm pretty sure you're not a psychic. So how can we put these ideas, how can we put these thoughts, how can we put these um, imprints into people's minds as truth when you cannot be certain? You cannot be certain to say that statement. And
Yes.
this, and I hear it so often from mums who are grieving this idea that their child will never do whatever it is that, is expected. I just don't buy it. And I think that if we just change our way of thinking, if we change the way and we look at the child as whole, and I repeat it again, look at your child as a whole being, because they are. They may not be able to speak. They may not be able to ride the bike, go to school, write their sentence, write their name, whatever it is. But they are a whole being. And we don't need to be looking at them as anything but then less than whole. They are whole. And so I really I want parents to hear that, because that's firsthand experience of you saying that you took someone's opinion and you thought that's not the right way. We're going to choose a different way. And clearly, from what it sounds like, is that your daughter is thriving. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah. Uh, Let me put this way. Thanks for sharing. What's the higher purpose of being a parent?
To love, to care for, to protect, to nurture, to grow,
What do we want the highest purpose of for our kids?
to for them to be happy and to succeed in this life in whatever capacity.
Success is healthy and happy. That's all we want. Correct? So
Yeah.
we don't care about the numbers and results what we see, but all we want, the highest purpose is we want our kids to be healthy, happy. That's it. So if we want our kids to be healthy and happy, and if I say that, I my kid can't ride a bike, it's all right. I'm 42, I can't ride a bike. I'm very
So
If I sit on the bike would stop. It will not move forward.
I don't know
That's the
about that.
reality. No, that's the reality. I had a bike, I sold it because I couldn't ride it. So is it important that that everything every kid has to do, or is it important that a kid actually lives a healthy and happy life? If our highest purpose is healthy and happy life, which means our kids may not do something, it's all right. Not everyone is an artist, not everyone is a mathematician, not everyone is a uni. And in fact, if most of the brainy people who are extremely good are employees. Look
Yeah,
at the
right.
scientists, doctors, engineers who have scored highest in 8 hour, right? They would have scored 99% of going to the top universities in the world. I'm not saying it's bad or wrong, it's good, but they are employees. And there are many dropouts who are also, they dropped out from the school, but they created what we call a business. So it's not necessary that someone has to go through the same journey as all the sheeps are going through. If someone chooses a different journey, then we can create a business from that new journey, which will feed them, which will make them happy, and which will keep them healthy. All we have to teach them is how to sell, how to market, how to create a business, the practical realities of life. If we can teach them, then it doesn't matter.
And I love that because going back to the bike scenario,
Yeah,
you can't tell me that you couldn't learn how to ride a bike, right? And so, no, but you could, like, if you wanted to, if you were passionate about by riding a bike, you could learn, right?
yeah,
And it's the same thing here. When we look at these kids and we think that they're not learning in a way that you're teaching them or that the teacher's teaching them. How about we change the way that we teach these children? And funny how they can just learn, right? But we as parents, we as teachers, we as the people who are looking after these beautiful autistic children are the ones that need to be adapting, not the other way around. And I
correct.
wish that more society would see that. Um, okay, so going on, I just wanted to ask you, in terms of systems and routines, how do they help when parents are really struggling with time? Like maybe you've got a parent who has got a side hustle or has got a business. How are they coping with the demands of what it is to raise an autistic child?
Great question. So, to answer that in a very simplistic terms, the whole business is a system. So, what is a system? A system is like a chocolate factory. It's a factory which you give some input, which is chocolate. It produces some chocolates as a wrapped product which can sell. So it creates the cocoa, whatever the seeds, to the outputs, right? System is something which delivers the output. So that system, and process is the checklist how to do the job. So process is inside, system is on a black box. Every business is a system. We are dealing with systems, so we develop everything as a system. So to simplify anyone's life, especially when we have too many things on the bucket, is to hire someone who can do some work and automate the system. For example, I'll give you an example. I sent a code today. I need to follow up after 2 or 3 days. Again, after 3 days, if I have to remember, I need to follow up, now that's adding tasks to me. Now, what if I automate this in a system like some ClickUp or Asana or Jira board somewhere, that Okay, I sent a code today, move that task to the next column, and then on that 3 days from then, automatically a reminder mails goes. So this sort of automation is possible to reduce the work. And there are so many tools, especially AI being in the front now. You need not write a huge emails and write from scratch. You can use a good prompts from ChatGPT or Cloud AI or Perplexity AI and get your stuff done, which used to take 2 to 3 hours, now within 5-10 minutes. And then all you have to do is move on to the next task. And I would recommend everyone to have even a Trello board, which is a free board, to track your changes, and then use Google Calendar with color coding to help yourself. Especially if someone is having an ADHD brain, most probably I have, which is I get overwhelmed when I have too many things in the bucket. So what I do is, for everything which is the task, I create an event in the Google Calendar. Now my brain knows that, okay, I have allocated a time, it doesn't bother, so I can focus on that job, what I have to do. So having that systems and processes and automation to do the work will really help. Like bookkeeping is one of the things which we can easily delegate. So there are many things which we can delegate, but there are some many things which we can automate. So if you delegate and if you automate and if you use some tools, at least 70 to 80% of the work will be done easily.
Yeah, I love that because, and there are parents are always asking me, like, what is the latest tool that we can use in terms of helping this process, this journey be easier? And there are so many things. Like I can't even, well, I can't list them off the top of my head right now because I'm thinking, like, there's the Courageous app, kids app, that helps parents with social stories. There is Sanguine Clothing, who helps with like sensory clothing. Like, there is the amount of businesses that are out there right now helping children, the autistic children, who with in any capacity. Like, if you can't find it, I reckon you maybe you're not looking in the right place. There are so many businesses out there that are trying to make things a lot easier. We just need to look for it. But sometimes parents don't know what to look for, and that's where the overwhelm can come from. But we just want to make parents' lives just so much easier, and we want to help them support their children so that they can make their children's life easier as well. So it's a two-sided coin. So I just wanted to ask you, you talk about ethical business growth. Can you tell us a little bit more about what that means and how families can achieve financial success really without the sacrifice that comes with it?
Thanks for that question. So ethical business growth is my business coaching framework, what I have. I always believe that we all are in business for a purpose, and it is for ethics, and values are very important. So there are two ways to do business, which is when I call unethical is forcing someone to buy which they don't need is unethical according to me. Now this is my belief. So if I force someone to buy my program, they don't need it, then I'm not doing the right thing. Or if I pressurize someone to sell something which, again, if they don't need, it is not the right thing. So there are many practices which we can do which is not right. So that's why I come to ethical, because when we are ethical, we are authentic, we are very true to ourselves, and it becomes life becomes much easier to do the tasks, because there is no masks which we have to wear every day. Wearing masks, lying, and pressurizing are the tasks which overwhelms for most of us, because it is not what we are today. So being ethical will actually help us to be authentic. So in my program, I have like dream clients, scale clients. So I have acronyms which we make sure that it's all easy to remember and easy to do the work, so that we get the job done. So for example, let's take ethically how to go to 7 figures. So if The first and foremost issue what most businesses find is finding client. How can I find clients? So then I would say we need to use a framework called dream. What is dream? D stands for define your audience, define your target audience. It is 1 to 2 hours worth of workshop. You sit, define them properly, including their emotion, what they're thinking, and everything in human psychology. Once we nail that, the second is to create a message which will resonate with them, with using hook story offer of Russell Brunson. Then we need to broadcast that message in all the channels and see, how can we find someone who needs our help. So if we go in a mindset that, I'm here to help people, I'm here to help our clients, then sales becomes service. When sales becomes service, all we are doing is someone needs a help. Say, for example, if I'm running a cleaning business, if someone, a parent needs a help in cleaning the house, I'm not selling my cleaning services. I'm actually helping my a parent to get her job done, so that, and for in return I'm asking few dollars because I have to pay my bills. So simple. So when we go with this mindset of solving a problem of our client, and we are in return we take few dollars to make sure that we also run the show, then sales becomes service. Now that is how we start building the foundations of the business. And once the foundations are built, then we will now repackage the stuff, price it properly, and scale it properly so that we can reach 7 figures. And once we hit our first million, that's when, you have your cash ready, you have your systems ready. So then we can target for 8 figures and 3 to 4 years. The time taken for 7 figures is more than the time taken for 8 figures. So the you will grow faster from 7 to 8 figures comparatively than from 100K to 7 figures.
Something that we can all dream about, getting to 8 figures, right?
Now, dream is something which is hope. So if we say if we remove the dream and hope, we will reach 8 figures. It is just a process.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that, Sesh. Where can people find you?
Uh, I have you can find me on Facebook. If you Google Sesh Iyer, then you will find me on Google. Even to Sesh Iyer plus business coach, if you do, you will find me, all my channels there. My business website is Riga Business Coaching, RIGA. It is Ria and Raga, my daughter's name. So it is RIGA, rigabusinesscoaching.com. You search Riga Business Coaching in Google. Again, you'll find me and my website. And of course, my phone numbers are there on my website. You can reach out to me and I'll be there to help.
I love that so much. Okay, so we've got 5 rapid fire questions.
Sure thing.
So what's the first one is, what's the most valuable lesson that you've learned today?
Today,
Just any time in your past.
the most valuable lesson what I've learned is I will focus on what I can do rather than what I can't do. So if I focus on what I can do today, then half of my overwhelm is there done. Because if I can't control others emotions and others reaction, but what I can control is my emotion and my reaction. Everything which happens inside of me is in my control. Everything which happens outside of me is not in my control.
Yes, so true. And something that I definitely remind myself of every single day, because it's so easy to go back into that sense of feeling like that you're out of control. And I think as parents, we really need to master that skill and really work as a muscle to increase that ability to just be present, be aware. Um, what's the best advice that you have ever received?
Believe in yourself. That's the number one thing which is very important. I i got this when in 2017 I was suicidal. I was about to kill myself, 17, 18. So in those years, that time I ran into Les Brown's Life is Hard YouTube video. That's where, I got my ignition back, which I lost in ages ago. The first thing is to believe in yourself, and second thing is to trust the process. It is very important to trust the process. It's a hard journey, we have to go through it. The third is to take actions to it. So these are the three things which are very important to get to the goal. Believe in yourself, trust the process, and take actions.
Thank you for sharing that. I totally resonate with that. I think if we're sitting still and sitting idle, it can really stop us from getting where we need to be. What's a myth that you can debunk about having your own business?
That the myth is like marketing is very hard. Market lead generation is hard. I can't do it. So this is a
Yes.
myth. I had this myth of holding on to quite some time. Even I'm a business coach, so I was holding on to the myth for some time. But unless I figured out the basic marketing triangle, which is 3%, 60%, and 40%, 37% or so. As soon as I discovered how marketing worked from the basic fundamental thing, then lead generation is not hard. I accept marketing is a big segment of the business. It needs time, effort, and money. Lead generation needs effort, time, and money. It is the most rapid advancing system in the business. However, it is not a ghost or a monster as it's been uh, portrayed by the marketer, because they have to run the business.
Yes, yes, I totally agree with that. Is there a book that you would recommend?
Yes, Breaking the Habits of Being Yourself by Dr. Joe Dispenza. That's the
Yeah, that's a great one.
best book. Yeah, I would say if you want to learn about mindset and manifestation and meditation, just read that book. And all what we do in NLP timeline therapy is the same thing in a different way. Our modality is different, but we are doing the same thing. So, Breaking the Habits of Being Yourself by Dr. Joe Dispenza for mindset and related work. But if you're looking for business, I would say Sell Like Crazy from Sabri Subi, awesome book. Any book of Alex Hamosi, like 100 Million Leads, very good. Then .com Secrets, Traffic Secrets, Expert Secrets from Russell Brunson. They all tie to each other. So you read one book, you get the gist of all others. But
Yeah,
they
sure.
are the best books here.
I'll add those to the show notes so that people can have access to where to buy them. So that's great. And the last one that I want to ask you is there a mantra or a quote that you live by?
The mantra is something which my mom always taught me, that failure is just a learning. You fail when you quit. So if you don't quit, you're still in the game. There is nothing called failure. So if
Oh,
you remove that quitting from your dictionary, you will always succeed.
that is so good. Your mum was a very smart woman. I love that so much. I
Thank
think that that is so important, and that we do need to remind ourselves as parents, that it is, if we're giving up, which it's so easy to give up. It's so easy to be like, "Nah, I'm not doing it anymore. I'm done. I'm exhausted. I don't want to play this game anymore." But if we just keep going, if we just keep persevering, just one tiny step at a time, it's amazing how far you can get with just those little baby steps. Sesh, thank you so much for joining me today. I have thoroughly enjoyed all of the information that you have shared. You've definitely dropped some big mic drops, some lots of gems, and I look forward to speaking to you in the future.
Thanks, Natalie, and thanks everyone for this opportunity. Loved
Thanks.
being here. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Sesh. See you
Thank
later.